family of 5 moves into their dream house in the country.
Everybody had their own bedroom.
It felt safe.
And soon encounters paranormal activity. What begins with footsteps and imaginary friends
Something was there.
escalates into something so evil
I saw her laying in a puddle of blood, and I thought she was dead.
and so powerful, it may never be tamed.
Cast into hell all the evil spirits. Amen.
In America, there is real evil. It lurks in the darkest shadows and in our most ordinary towns. Between the worlds we see and the things we fear, there are doors. When they are opened, nightmares become reality. Brookville, Ohio is a farming community on the outskirts of Dayton. It's one of those everyone knows your business sort of places. Settled in 1850, Brookville sprung up from nowhere along newly laid railroads built to connect larger cities.
I grew up in the country. It was safe, fun, big yards, close-knit community, and that's what I wanted for my children.
Hey, come on, let's get in here. Get in there, little tiger.
In the fall of 2008, Alicia Kane and her husband Scott
We got quite a haul.
moved their family from Sioux Falls, South Dakota to rural Brookville.
When we saw this house, we knew that it was going to be perfect.
Everything kind of reminded us of where we lived at before, and we kind of fell in love with the place right off the bat.
Did you scare them?
Oh, God.
Mac is 15.
What about you? Do people think you're a witch?
Farah is 10.
And what about you, little devil?
And Marissa is 6.
Financially, we were very stable. She was able to stay at home with the kids and not have to worry about work.
It was a quiet little town. Everyone knew everyone. It felt safe.
Inside, the 4-bedroom house feels spacious and open.
Look at this.
We've always been in smaller homes, and it was a good-sized house, and we would have plenty of room.
Everybody had their own bedroom, and there was lots of space for everyone to run around. And
Who's got some candy for Dad, huh?
What is that?
But the house and property are not as ideal as they appear to be. Within these walls, bad things have happened. Spirits are not at rest. By March of 2009, the family has settled in. Scott's job as a corporate auditor often takes him away from home, leaving Alicia to tend to the kids and household duties.
At that time, my husband was staying out of town a lot.
all I wanted to do was be there with them, and all they wanted was for me to be there with them, and it was pretty difficult. Sometimes I spent 2 weeks at a time away from home and come home on the weekend and then go right back. It was really hard on all of us.
Six months after moving into the house, weird things started happening. I heard footsteps, and it sounded like bare feet hitting the wood floor. I just had this eerie feeling. I couldn't see anything, but something was there. All of a sudden, I heard footsteps. They were getting closer and closer. All of a sudden, it stopped.
Mac?
When I didn't see anything, it made me feel like maybe it was just me. I felt confused, frightened, crazy. My gut told me that something wasn't right in that house.
Alicia decides to keep the strange experiences to herself. When Scott returns home from his business trip, she feels safe once again. But one night, Alicia suddenly wakes up to intense heat. It feels as if the house is on fire.
I was really hot. I had to throw the covers off. It must have been 90 degrees in that house. I was burning up.
Scott, did you turn up the furnace? Scott.
At first, I thought maybe the children had turned the heat all the way up.
But the thermostat has not been touched.
So I went to go check the furnace. The furnace was turned all the way up. I knew it was weird that there was nothing to explain it, but I just kind of let it go.
One afternoon, Alicia hears something out of the ordinary.
What's your brother's name?
It sounds as if her daughter Marissa is having a conversation.
I have a brother too. His name is Mac.
I noticed that she was talking to somebody that wasn't there.
Who are you talking to, Marissa?
Jacob.
She was telling me that it was a little boy named Jacob and his brother named Stephen.
Him and his brother Stephen used to live here. Look, I drew a picture of them.
Why are they wearing masks?
Jacob said they got hurt real bad.
She told me that they wore sacks over their heads because they got burned in a fire and they didn't want to scare her. She said the house was right where our house is now. She said the little boys were upstairs in the loft playing. The dad was outside tending to the animals. The mom was cooking. The kitchen stove was a wood stove, and that's what caught fire. It all made sense now. The creaking, the footsteps, the furnace. I knew something was going on in that house.
Where are Jacob and Stephen now?
Right there.
I didn't know what to think, but when Marissa told me everything in detail, so much detail, I knew she couldn't be making it up. It frightened me.
In the fall of 2008, the Kane family, Alicia, Scott, and their 3 children, move into a house in Brookville, Ohio. At first, all is well, until a few months later when Alicia begins to suspect their home is haunted. Wherever she goes, Alicia feels as if something or someone is taunting her.
I heard footsteps and the furnace was turned all the way up. I felt uneasy about the house, what was going on, but I didn't know what to do about it.
But then, 6 months after moving in, the situation becomes disturbing when her 6-year-old daughter Marissa begins talking to imaginary friends she says died in a fire on the property.
When Marissa told me everything in detail, so much detail, I knew she couldn't be making it up. And I started feeling that the little boys haunted the house. My gut told me that something wasn't right. I just wanted answers.
Alicia has not said a word to her husband, Scott.
I decided not to tell Scott because he was out of town working a lot.
Instead, she takes matters into her own hands and does some research at the local historic society.
I was hoping to find answers of the owners, who lived there, who's died there, anything I could think of.
What Alicia discovers rattles her to her core. Factual evidence to back up her daughter's story.
I found out there was a home on the property in 1865 and that it had burned down, so that confirmed what Marissa had told me. In that moment, I knew something was going on in that house.
The records offer nothing more about the house or its inhabitants, but Alicia believes her daughter's new friends were burned alive on their land.
It made me feel very frightened. I wasn't scared of ghosts, but I was scared of the unknown.
That night, Alicia tells her husband about the records of the fire and Marissa's new friends.
I'm really worried about Marissa. What if they're not imaginary friends? I don't know, what if our house is haunted? I found this map in the Historical Society, Scott.
Honey, she's just using her imagination. It's normal behavior for a kid her age in a new place.
I kind of reassured her that kids have imaginary friends and it's kind of normal and there's nothing odd about it or strange. She's the youngest and the 2 older kids would kind of leave her out of stuff, so I just thought she was trying to make her own friend, you know, have someone to talk to because they were kind of older and kind of ignored her a lot of times, so I just thought she was trying to have a friend, imaginary friend.
I was a little upset that he didn't believe, but I wasn't scared of the little boys. I felt like they weren't there to hurt us, that they were just trying to let us know what happened to them.
It's an old house. When you turn the hot water on, the pipes knock and make noises underneath the house, and the doors all creak, and when the wind blows, you could hear it in the windows, and when cars drive by, it's kind of loud sometimes, and the lights will play tricks on you.
I just tried to not focus on the house being haunted and live normal.
Then, a few weeks later,
Mom, someone's in my room.
Scott, Marissa said somebody's in her room.
You could tell she was very upset.
Relax, sweetie. You're probably just having a nightmare.
Maybe she should sleep in here tonight.
Honey, it's fine. Come on, kiddo. Let's go check this out.
That made me feel uneasy, very uneasy. I didn't like it that my child was upset and scared.
Go ahead. Go on, jump up there. Now, I want you to understand there's nothing in here that can hurt you. Okay?
Okay.
I think me trying to protect them, I was trying not to scare them, but I think it might have backfired a little bit because then they were saying, you know, Dad doesn't believe me or doesn't trust me.
I love you.
It's 2010. For months, Alicia Kane has been convinced that her house is haunted by the spirits of young boys who died in a fire on the property long ago. Her 6-year-old daughter carries on conversations with the ghosts who appear friendly.
What's your brother's name?
While her husband, Scott, refuses to believe.
Honey, she's just using her imagination.
One night, young Marissa is visited by a much more terrifying entity.
Mom, someone's in my room.
Honey, it's fine. Come on, kiddo. Let's go check this out. There's nothing in here that can hurt you.
All of a sudden, we heard this terrifying scream. She said she saw a woman in her room. She said the woman's dress was torn and she was bleeding. It was very real to her.
I had never seen her that scared before.
It's okay.
What happened?
Nothing.
Marissa's older siblings, Mac and Farah, are concerned about their sister.
I knew something was definitely strange going on.
But Scott still isn't ready to accept that his house is haunted.
Scott thought that because we were talking about the little boys, it stirred up Marissa's imagination.
Come on. She can stay in our room tonight.
I knew 100% that my house was haunted. I was starting to think that there was more to it, not just the little boy ghost.
Over the next few weeks, everyone in the family is on edge. Even Scott feels the tension.
I started noticing that the kids were a little more skittish in certain areas of the house, and the girls wanted to start sharing a room together. They didn't want to sleep alone. And so we moved Marissa out of her room into Farah's room. The whole kind of vibe of the house had started to change.
We were all walking on eggshells. We didn't know what to do. We were all very scared.
But with Scott working out of town much of the time, it's Alicia who must cope with what her husband still denies. That something sinister inhabits her home.
I wasn't sure what was going to happen next.
Marissa? Farah? Mac?
I was starting to think maybe something bad happened in that house.
Miranda, no!
Didn't you guys hear me calling?
Sorry.
As soon as I went upstairs, I seen him laughing and having a good time, and I was so relieved.
Where'd you get these?
I'm the John.
I started paying more attention to the kids and keeping them more close to me.
They almost fit you.
Hey, Mom, come look at this.
All of a sudden, Mac handed me this bloody, ripped-up shirt that he had found. It had been placed in the eave of the attic.
Give me that. Kids, go downstairs.
But, Mom...
Now.
Alicia believes the bloody shirt has a connection to the woman who scared Marissa in her room.
It was like someone was trying to hide it.
When are you coming home?
And Alicia would call me all stressed out, and then it would be like we'd fight over the phone, and then I'd want to just come home right away, but I couldn't because I had to stay for work. It was really, really hard.
Something is in this house.
Scott still didn't want to believe it. I was all alone, dealing with a stressful situation.
All right.
I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to. I felt alone, scared. I didn't know what to do. I decided to talk to my neighbors to see if they knew anything that had happened in that house.
Excuse me. Do you know if anything strange ever happened in my house?
I just can't believe you're living in that house. You know someone was murdered there, right?
Murdered? What do you mean?
We were all shocked.
My neighbor told me that the previous person that lived in that house had shot and killed his wife.
She was just real sweet. A beautiful girl. What a tragedy.
According to local newspapers, the murder took place in the early 1980s.
Where are you gonna go, Miranda? Where are you gonna go? You have nothing without me. You understand me?
The newspaper article said they had been in an argument,
Miranda, no!
and he shot her twice in the back. It confirmed what had been going on in the house, what Marissa had seen. It's when I realized that the house was really haunted. I was feeling every kind of emotion there is possible. I was scared, frustrated, angry, and now I was worried about my family. I felt completely powerless.
But the real terror for Alicia's family is just beginning. A few days later, Farah hears strange sounds coming from somewhere in the house.
Mom? 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 Mom?
In Brookville, Ohio, Alicia Kane believes her new house is inhabited by the ghosts of two young boys who perished in a fire many years earlier.
After thinking about it, I realized that the boys weren't trying to hurt us.
But the haunting intensifies when Alicia learns a woman was murdered in her house.
Miranda, no!
Mom?
Now, the murdered woman's spirit begins targeting Farah, Alicia's oldest daughter.
Mom?
All of a sudden, I heard this terrifying scream. And Farrah was crying and shaking. It was awful.
What happened? I saw her, Mom. I saw her.
She said she heard creaking come from the bathroom, and she saw a bloody woman. She was bloody all over, had blood coming from her eyes. I tried to calm her down, but it was really hard. She was really freaking out. The way Farrah described it, it seemed as if it was the same woman that Marissa had seen.
Alicia is devastated.
It all made sense now, the clothes that Mac found and what Marissa saw. I was absolutely terrified. It was now targeting my kids, and I didn't know what to do.
Alicia feels betrayed because no one told her a murder took place in her home.
I was scared, frustrated, angry that no one told us what happened in the home, and now I was worried about my family. I went to go get the clothes that Mac had found. I threw them in the fire, and I thought it would get rid of everything that's happened. I just wanted it to all go away.
Alicia? What's wrong?
Did you know a woman was murdered in our house?
I didn't really want to believe it still. I was still kind of in denial about it. But when Alicia had told me that the previous owner had murdered his wife in the house, it kind of made everything fall into place.
That's who Marissa saw in her bedroom that night. And Farrah saw her in the bathroom this afternoon. And she was covered in blood.
Everything that the kids had experienced, everything that Alicia had experienced, it all made sense. And it kind of floored me.
I found this in the newspaper.
It was, it was staring us right in the face.
I'm so sorry. I didn't believe you.
The evidence overwhelms Scott. He finally believes the house is haunted and accepts the idea that his family needs help.
I knew that she was pretty much at her wit's end, and we needed to find somebody to help us. She was going to fall apart, the kids were going to fall apart, everything was just going to go south from there if we didn't get help.
We knew that we had to find somebody to help us. We couldn't do it on our own. A mutual friend helped us find the Foremans from Living Dead Paranormal.
Soon after, the team of 3 brothers, Josh, Sean, and Rocky Foreman, arrive at the house. The Kane children spend the night with a friend to ensure their safety.
On this particular case, we started up on the 2nd floor because it was one of the areas when we were doing the walkthrough, you got the heaviness on your chest, and it was also the area that the family was having most of their experiences.
Was that open a minute ago?
I don't think so.
Let's go check out the attic.
Okay.
As soon as I open the attic door, you hear a female voice, just plain as day. It was real drawn out. She goes, "No." It was like she was standing right there with us. At that point, part of you says, get the hell out of the house.
But Josh feels a sense of responsibility to the family. Overcoming his fear, he and Rocky proceed with the investigation.
What was that?
I don't know. Something's in here.
He immediately got a sad feeling, and he had asked if I was feeling the same thing he was feeling, because a lot of times, when you're in the middle of an investigation, you'll get different emotions. from sadness or fear. And just going up the attic, you got that heavy feeling. It was just like an overwhelming sadness.
Are you here with us now? What do you want? What do you want from us?
For the past 2 years, the Kane family has been terrorized by the ghost of a woman who was murdered in their Brookville, Ohio home. The Kanes knew nothing about the killing before they moved in. Their daughter's terrifying encounter with the murdered woman's spirit forces Alicia and Scott to seek help from paranormal expert Josh Foreman and his brothers.
Honestly, I really didn't know if it was gonna work or not. I didn't know what to think about the whole thing.
While investigating in the attic, Josh and Rocky make contact with the murdered woman.
Are you here with us now? What do you want? What do you want from us?
We heard a female voice, plain as day again, like she was standing right there with us, said, "Shoot the Foremans."
When you actually get an EVP, knowing that it's your last name is really uneasy.
We've investigated a lot of homes, and we've never ran into anything that was this aggressive. It was definitely eerie to get something that clear. It really validated for us that, whatever was in this house is linked to the murder. We need to pick it up a notch and do whatever we could do to help this family.
Josh breaks the news to Alicia and Scott. This ghost is upset and hell-bent on disrupting their family.
I believe the woman who was murdered in this house is still here.
This was the home that she was supposed to start her family and raise her kids. And then in a very tragic and sudden way, all those dreams were ripped away from her.
The Foremans told us it would only get worse from there.
I tried to debunk things that happened that I couldn't explain or had no excuse for it, but everything that was happening was real.
Josh provides a solution.
We'd like to bring someone in to perform a cleansing.
We were at our wits' ends on it, so we didn't know what to do. I was terrified. I was hopeful that the cleansing would help.
Father Alan Dersham arrives at the Kane house prepared to confront an angry, restless spirit. He's a special kind of priest with many tools at his disposal. He's what's called an eclectic priest.
I follow many different religions to combat the spiritual world. As soon as I got to the property, I felt an immediate, strong, dark presence. I know it didn't want me there.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Something was very hostile. It was almost like it was wanting me to get back in my car and leave.
While the family waits in another section of the house, Alan uses rites and rituals from 5 different religions to cast out the restless spirits.
When I set up a cleansing, I picked the centermost room of the house and I burn a black candle that will absorb every negative energy into the house.
It was strange to have this man with all this weird stuff that we've never had in our home before, but we were willing to try anything.
Saint Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle. Safeguard us against the wickedness and the snares of the devil.
I could sense spirits of children there, as well as a darker spirit. The children's spirits seemed to be more welcoming and just curious. They seemed to be stuck in the home. The dark entity was on the upper levels of the house, towards the attic and the second floor. The darker spirit in the home was very angry, and you could tell it definitely didn't want me there. I'm at battle with the spiritual realm for this family.
By the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about this world seeking the ruin of souls.
My goal is to get rid of it. Nothing's going to steer me from that goal.
Amen.
I felt very strongly that I had eliminated a presence within the home.
For 1 week, life in the house returns to normal. All paranormal activity stops. Alicia and Scott are relieved, hopeful the cleansing has worked.
It felt as if this big cloud had lifted off of our family.
I was happy. The kids were happy. Everything was pretty much back to the way it was before.
It felt like at the beginning when we first moved into the house.
But the haunting is far from over.
I started feeling this burning on my leg. I was very terrified. All of a sudden, I looked down and saw blood on the bathroom floor. I followed the trail down the hall.
For more than 2 years, the Kane family has been terrified by the bloody spirit of an angry woman murdered in their Brookville, Ohio home. After bringing in professional help and getting the house cleansed, the family believes their nightmare is over.
Cast into hell all the evil spirits. Amen.
But it's not. It's back with a vengeance.
I saw her laying in a puddle of blood, and I thought she was dead.
Marissa? Marissa? Marissa?
She woke up and she didn't know what had happened. It looked like she had had a nosebleed, but it wasn't a normal nosebleed.
What happened?
This was my baby, and it terrified me.
Alicia rushes Marissa to the doctor, who explains it's just a bad nosebleed. Alicia believes it's something more sinister.
It was too much blood. Realizing that ghosts could touch you or harm you was absolutely terrifying. I tried to protect my kids, but how can I protect my kids when I can't even protect myself? I felt like it was only going to get worse.
This is the last straw for the Kane family.
To feel safer, we all decided to start sleeping in the living room so we could all be closer together. We felt we could keep a better eye on the kids.
There was so much stuff happening that we couldn't even keep up with it. It was just too much.
The family decides to move out as soon as possible, but for financial reasons, they have no idea when that will be.
We are currently trying to get out of the house. It has been a burden on all of us to not be able to just leave the house. We're financially stuck, but we are saving to get out as quickly as possible.
Me and Alicia decided that was it. We weren't going to take all the stuff anymore. We weren't going to go through everything again. We're trying to ignore all the other stuff that goes on and just concentrate on getting out of there. I had to go and have that talk with my kids again, you know, that we got to be strong.
Dad, what if the ghost comes in here?
Paranormal investigator Josh Foreman plans a formal exorcism of the house once the Kane family moves. He hopes to make it safe for future inhabitants.
Personally, for me, I was devastated to hear that the activity came back because we had tried everything that we knew from the different experiences we've had over the last 10 years of investigating the paranormal.
But there is a chance that whatever they do, the spirits may never be driven from the property.
It needs to be something more in your face that's really going to push this thing. It's really time for us to think outside the box. My only hope is whatever this is doesn't follow them, and you know, they can be at peace finally.
One thing is certain, the Kane family will be forever haunted by the experience.
I was definitely a skeptic. I didn't really believe in paranormal. No, I really don't know what to tell people. I wouldn't wish anybody to go through anything like that. It's horrible. It's not fun and games. It's really rough.
It's not what I was intending for my children at all. It hurts a lot. It feels like I'm not protecting my family the way I should. I hope and I pray that my kids can get over this. I feel very lucky we have survived.